Today, we're looking at a purple ink by Kaweco Summer Purple. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. And if you like videos like that, I would invite you to subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram, and there's timestamps down below so that if you are in a hurry, you can skip around. But if you got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, then put the ink into this Tasha Spectrum with a music nib, wrote with it for a day, and used it to take the notes for this video. This first writing sample is done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Additional papers will show up later. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in cartridge form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. Alright, so all of this spotting, this is not bleeding. This is me just being my normal sloppy self. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 13 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 18 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and we're not getting any. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 24 seconds to dry. Medium is much darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 31 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and we're not getting any. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 12 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 16 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we're not getting any. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this light gray at the bottom that's forming a line, immediately getting into the paper, so it's bonding quite quickly. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And the most noticeable difference is that line on the bottom. Very solid and there, truly bonded with the paper. We do think that gray is going to be a bit resistant. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before I test it. Looking at the highlighter, I feel perfectly safe using this in a note-taking situation because it doesn't have any blowout or any real problems going on 3 days later. Now, water is lifting all the purple off that just like with the chromatography and leaving the gray behind just like with the chromatography. Pen flush does exactly the same thing that water does. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, I did need to use pen flush to get this completely out of my pen. The 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it from the paper. As far as viscosity or flow, for the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Kaweco's Summer Purple has a viscosity of 3.39, making this a very dry ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average those, and what I found is the average dry time is 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Kaweco's Summer Purple has an average dry time of 19 seconds, so its dry time is normal. Instead of finding inks that look like Kaweco's Summer Purple, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went for a nice brown, and I chose Krishna's The Earth. The second writing sample is done on TWSBI and moleskin paper. Here we're looking at TWSBI notebook paper. Well, we get no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 13 seconds to dry. The medium is just a tad darker than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 17 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby of the extra fine shows no color variation. The medium shows some, but we didn't get any in the writing. And last up is Moleskin Notebook. And we do get a lot of bleed through that occurs. Now this bleed through did not touch the page underneath. It leads to a lot of show through, and you might choose to use the back of the page with the extra fine, but you couldn't do it with the medium. The medium has a lot of feathering all over it. No spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the medium. It has feathering, quite a bit of feathering all over it. No spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 4 seconds to dry. The scrubby shows no color variation, and we're not getting any. And that's all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of Kaweco's Summer Purple? This ink tends to look pretty good on the page, and while it looks pretty good on the page, it doesn't ever really shade. But I did find that it looked especially nice on cream paper. So what nib and pen give the best writing experience with this ink? I did find that it gave quite a bit of tone variation depending on the pen that you put it into. Now it could be much lighter or much darker. I preferred the much darker from very wet, fine, medium, broad, anything, as long as it was a wet pen. If you've enjoyed this video and made it this far, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down and tell me why. Thanks for watching.